YouTube, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. So today, guys, we're gonna talk about the new REGENESIS cards. So these are gonna be added into the game by next week on September 10th, alongside the new Meta supports or slash Ignister access code supports, Heraldric, Magistus, and furthermore Gem Knight supports. What's interesting about the new REGENESIS cards is this is a new engine that you can actually use for any type of deck that requires or that needs a bit of a protection. So they have some Omni Negates, a bounce effect, or typically any type of interruption that you can think of. So without further ado, let's start off with the core list first. Then we go with the tech cards, the variants, and then lastly, we'll go to a simple or a linear combo with this deck. So REGENESIS. So the three new supports that came out, or the last supports that came out for this archetype is the copy of Demiurge, a copy of Cycle, and a copy of Commands. I think the best one here is Cycle, and then going towards Commands. I really thought this was returned to the deck, but it returns the cards from the field or graveyard to the hand. Also, summoning this, you need to banish 2 monsters with 2,500 attack or defense from your graveyard. Oh no, yeah, the entire archetype revolves around 2,500 attack or defense or both, depends on their requirement. So, first and foremost, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're going for Lord first. Cannot be normal summoned or set, same as Demiurge. Must be spell summoned from your hand by banishing one face-up monster in the field that has 2,500 attack or defense. Once this card is spell summoned, you can set one REGENESIS spell or trap card from your deck. During battle phase, this gains 2,500 attack during the battle phase, so a pretty good body that you can actually go into if ever you're going for gain. But with regards to the number of copies for Lord, I think I've seen most of them being used as 1. I think that's the maximum limit that you could actually use for this card. Next up will be the Demiurge. 2,500 attack, 2,500 defense. It's pretty mediocre. We have the Archfiend. This is part of an engine as well that you can pair with some other decks that doesn't have any proper interruption. So Archfiend is your main card as well that can gain you an additional REGENESIS card from your deck or banishment to your hand. So 3 copies, definitely. You can spell summon this card from your hand by revealing another monster with 2,500 attack or defense. During the end phase, if this card is sent to the graveyard, because it was sent there this turn, you can add this card back to your hand. I think majority of the REGENESIS cards have these similar effects. Typically 3 copies of that. No copies for Demiurge. Then we go for Dragon. Now with Dragon and a copy of Sage and a copy also with Warrior. So you need to have a monster on the field with 2,500 original attack on the field to spell summon these 3 bodies on the field. Secondary effect for the Dragon is you can tribute this card and target one spell or trap card in your opponent controls, banish it. Pretty good card as well. I think that's basically it. Roughly, it's a spell and trap card removal. Then we go for the Sage. Oh yeah, 1 copy of this if you're running pure. If you're running another variant, I do think that it depends on the variant that you're using. But yeah, let's talk about the variants later on. Second, or the next card we're going to talk about is the Sage. So Sage is a spellcaster monster. And if you control a monster with 2,500 attack or defense, you can special summon this. When your opponent activates a card or effect, you can send one other REGENESIS card from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. So this is the only negate that I'm talking about earlier, which is pretty good. And it is always going to be on 3 copies if you're running a pure build. If you're running this on another variant, having a 1 copy of this is already good, because you can just sacrifice the Archfiend on the field for this effect. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, then typically it just bounces back to your hand. So 3 copies if you're running pure. Lastly, we have the Warrior. If you control a monster with 2,500 attack or yada yada yada, spell summon this. You can tribute this card and target 1 monster your opponent controls, return it to the hand. So the bounce effect for this card is pretty neat. 1 copy if you're running pure, or it depends on the variant. Now I keep on talking about the variants, we'll talk about that in a bit. Now for the Cycle, if you control a monster with 2,500 attack or defense, target 1 card your opponent controls, or if you control a Dragon Lord, you can target 2. Then banish those cards. If this card is in your graveyard, except this turn, you can banish it, spell summon 1 monster with 2,500 attack or defense from your hand. So what you need to know about the spell cards is Cycle, spell summons a body from the hand. The Code, spell summons a body from the banish pile. And lastly, the REGENESIS, spell summons a body from the graveyard. So take note of that one. That's the main or the secondary effect for these three spell cards. Then we have the code. Spell summon one Regenesis monster from your deck, but send it to the graveyard during your opponent's end phase. Also, until the end of the next turn, after this card resolves, you cannot spell summon from the extra deck. Now, this is the only card that locks you out from the extra deck, so be very careful if you're using your extra deck. If you have a deck like that, then might as well gonna run 0 to 1 copy of this. But if you're running pure, I advise just go with 3 copies. But anyways, the code is pretty good on a pure version or any type of build that doesn't really use the extra deck too much. If you're using the extra deck, just run 0 to 1. For the Regenesis, 3 copies because this card adds 1 Regenesis monster from your deck to your hand or send it to the graveyard. So this is one of the cards that can actually dump a copy of Demiurge. And then yeah, the secondary effect that spell summons a monster from the graveyard to your field. Now lastly, for the 2 trap cards, you can send 1 Regenesis monster from your deck to the graveyard, then target 1 face-up monster, flip it face down. During your opponent's turn, you can send this card to the graveyard, spell summon as many Regenesis monsters from your hand, graveyard, or banishment. So typically, you can just summon every Regenesis name that you have from those parts, and then you can trigger their effects, the negate, the bounce, and the removal. Yeah, so it's a pretty good card effect to even have on the field. So 1 to 3 copies if you're running pure. On other builds, just 0 to 1. Lastly, with the commands, 0 to 1 as well. So apply these effects to all cards your opponent controls as the same column as your Regenesis monsters. Face-up cards negate their effects. Face-down monsters cannot change their battle positions. Face-down spell and trap cards cannot be activated until the end of the next turn. If you're running pure, 0 to 1. If you're not running a pure version, just 0 copies. So that is basically the general deck list if you're running pure. Before we go into the variants, let's talk about the tech cards first. So let's go. Alright, so here we are with the tech cards for the deck. We'll talk about the variants and their tech cards and how they can work well with the Regenesis as well. So first and foremost, in our tech card, we'll have the Arch Nemesis Protoss. You can actually use Regenesis with Ryzeal as a small engine. With Ryzeal, you can go for Banshee. Banshee, search out the flag or the Nemesis flag, and then search out the Arch Nemesis Protoss. Plus, Protoss has 2,500 attack as well that you can also reveal or have on the field to special summon your other Regenesis monsters as well. So that's one thing that comes out to mind if ever you want to use Protoss to your advantage. Next up, we have also Lava Golem, which has 2,500 attack. Another good card as well, going second. There is a going second build for Regenesis. With the effect of the Regenesis Warrior that can bounce 1 card from your opponent's field, you can bounce Lava Golem and use it again on the field for your opponent. Next up, we have Burning Dragon, which has 2,500 attack. If your opponent controls 2 or more monsters and this card is in your hand, you can spell summon this. If this card is normal or spell summon, you discard 1 spell, destroy all spell and trap cards on the field. Another good card here is the Dogmatica one. So this works too well with the Regenesis Dogmatica as another good body that has 2,500 attack and 2,500 defense. If you're using Dogmatica with Regenesis, it is pretty cool. They're not even using the extra deck at this point on. If you have this on hand, you can reveal it. If you have this on field, you can just spell summon your Regenesis monster on the field. Plus the Dogmatica, it can also trigger the secondary effect for the Fleur de Lis to negate a card on the field. Face-up monster on the field. Yeah, that's pretty good. Then we have the other 2 variants as well that we're going to talk about in a bit. So we have the Bestials that has 2,500, or the Bestial Lubellion that has 2,500 attack. I think majority of the Bestials has 2,500 attack, so that is basically the criteria that Regenesis is looking for, I would say. And then you can just work your way with that, especially in the format that we're in against Ryzeal and Malice. It is pretty useful, so that's one thing that you can actually use with or against with. Then we have the Kashtira. So 2,500. In Master Duel, we have Unicorn on 2 copies, so it might be like a problem in some cases. But it also gives support to the Kashtira deck because they don't really have proper interruptions on the field. So if you're using the Regenesis with them, this deck can actually benefit quite a lot. Depending on the variant that you're using, you can either go for level 8s for an 8-axis build, where's the other level 8? Yeah, the 8-axis build that we can check on later on. Or you can go with level 7s that you can work your way with rank 7 monsters. So that's one way as well. Next up, we have also Pot of Extravagance. Pot of Extravagance is on 1 copy. And Regenesis monsters doesn't really like use the extra deck. So Extravagance is another good card to allow you to draw 2 cards in general. Another thing here before I forget, we forgot the one card, the Gorgon Slicer as well. Is another good go second card if you're interested in this. This is the newest card that came out alongside Malice, and you can actually remove 2 cards on the field by the expense of your extra deck. Next up, we have the 2 important cards as well. So since the Regenesis archetype doesn't really have a normal summon, these 2 cards are very important. Now, again, the Diamond Tiger. Once normal summon, you can spell summon the Ken to your opponent's side, and it allows you to draw 2 cards on your side. And if ever you have a copy of Triple Tactics Thrust or Talents, you can use them during that turn. So it is pretty useful if ever you're going first or if you're going second. I think it's more useful if you're going first at this point on. Then, like I said earlier, the Gorgon Slicer. Then moving on to the trap cards, we also have there can be only one since majority of the Regenesis monsters have different type. We have Dragon, Spellcaster, and we also have a Warrior. Now, Skill Drain, you might think that this would be a downside for the Regenesis. Well, I'll show you a video regarding this, okay? Okay, so you saw the video, right? So face-up skill drain doesn't really influence the Regenesis. Then we have another good card to have if you're using Regenesis, Dragon's Mind. So when a spell or trap card or a monster effect is activated while you control a monster with 2,500 original attack or defense, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Also, if this card is in your graveyard, you can pay 2,500 life points, set this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. Another good card. Some people are running 1 to 3 copies of this in some other builds. I think it's mostly on a pure version. Some people are even using this on 1 copy. Pretty good deck card if you ask me. Plus, it is spell speed 4. Then lastly, we have the Power Sink Stone. If ever it maxes out to 2 spell counters, then their player can activate the effects of face-up monsters on the field, which is pretty nice to have. And I think this is on 3 copies in Master Duel, same as Dragon's Mind. So that is your main deck. Now lastly, for the extra deck, let's just remove that one and just focus on the main deck as well, because we're focusing mainly with Regenesis here. So that is your tech cards or support cards for some other variants. Let's move on to the variants for Regenesis. Okay, so for the variants that we'll be using in Master Duel, we have our first variant, which is the pure version. So the pure version, I am using the Demiurge. Yeah, I think we can remove this. And adding like a copy of Super Poly is way better. Or a second copy of Triple Tactics Talent would be way better. So it's either one of those. Or a third copy of Moncharmies, whatever you can actually add with this deck. And this is a pure version, by the way. Or somewhat going into a go second card. A go second deck as well. Regardless. So yeah, 3 copies of Archfiend, 1 Dragon, 3 Sage, 1 Warrior, and your normal summon, the Gen, the Diamond Tiger, and the Ken, the Warrior Dragon. The rest, it's all Board Breakers, Ultimate Slayer, Super Poly, Forbidden Droplet, your Skill Drain, of course. You can also use Tikaboob on this, by the way. For your extra deck, I just placed a lot of cards on 2 to 3 copies because we're using a copy of Pot of Extravagance here. So at least we have an extra copy if ever you want to send one other card to the graveyard. As another good target as well for Ultimate Slayer. So you have your fusions, your synchros, your exes, and your link monsters. So that's one of them. I think it's pretty straightforward. If you want the deck list for this, it will be in the comment section below. So with that, that's our pure. Let's move on to the next variant. So for our next variant here, we have Regenesis Kashtira. So like I said earlier, Kashtiras love level 7s. So we're maxing out a copy of Sage here. Archfiend is on 3 copies still because, like I said, this is a pretty good starter. Since we are playing this in Master Duel, 2 Unicorns, 1 Fenrir, 1 Rice Heart, 3 Pathfinders because this is our normal summon for the deck. And you can go into Planet Wraithsoth, 3 copies of Regenesis, and since we're using the extra deck, I prefer not using the other Regenesis spell card. So the core, or the code I mean, and then just running a copy of Birth, which is still pretty good though. So that is Kashtira. Decklist will be in the comment section below. Okay, dogs. So for our next variant, we have here Dogmatika. Now, Dogmatika is one of the things that I've been talking about earlier. So we don't need that many Dogmatika monsters, just the significant ones of 3 copies of Ecclesia, 1 Fleur-de-Lis, and a 1 copy of Maximus. Plus, you can also use the Albazoa. I prefer using the Albazoa just for fun. And then pumping a lot of extra monsters for our extra deck because we're using Ultimate Slayer and a copy of Dogmatika Punishment. So a lot of fuel that you can use with the cards here. And also, Albazoa's material is going to be the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. So that's very straightforward enough. And with that, let's move on to our last variant. Okay, dogs, for our last variant, it is just a mixture of everything else. I've seen a version of this. It is 8 access generally, but there's like a couple of cards that are level 7. So I just added some of the Bishells that are level 8, which is pretty much important. I'm not too sure about running Drew Swarm on 2, but I can just remove them and add like a 3rd copy of Droplet either way, which is pretty fine. As long as there are a lot of level 8s than level 6 or level 7s. So that's still pretty good though. Questionable on 1 copy of Code. I can remove this and add another card, but even so, it's still pretty good still. Your trap cards for the Tachyon cards and the Dragon's Mind for another form of negate. Honestly, there are a lot of variants that you can use with Regenesis. I mean, people are just adding the Archfiend as the engine. Oh yeah, by the way, the engine is typically Regenesis Archfiend, and then going into a copy of Regenesis, and then searching out either a copy of Sage here or a copy of Warrior. It's either one of those. It's up to you on what to gain for that engine, but it is still pretty strong though. Majority of the time, people are going for the Sage for the Omni Negate, which is, I would prefer also that one as well. So that is one of the things that you can actually do with the deck. And like archetypes like Kashtira's that needs protection or like interruptions, Regenesis is another good engine to actually work with, other than Fiendsmith, of course. So, oh, what did I remove? So that's basically it. Tell me your thoughts on the new. Oh yeah, by the way, before we go end this segment here, let's move on to the last portion of this video, which is the combo for the deck. Okay, so like I said earlier, the Regenesis needs a reveal or any monster on the field with 2500 attack. It depends on the Regenesis monster that you're adding to the deck. But so far, if you're running this on pure, it's not really like a big problem, especially if you're using Archfiend. If you have another Regenesis monster or any monster whatsoever with 2500 attack or defense, reveal it, spell summon it to the field. And this is the most linear combo that you can actually do that involves summoning an Omni Negate on the field. So let's just say go for Archfiend here, use the effect, get a copy of Regenesis. Now at this point, it's up to you on what gameplay you're going at. If you need more Regenesis monsters, you go for Regenesis. If you want the code, that's one of the best options as well. You can go for Birth or get the other monsters that can be spell summoned to the field, either way. But for me, I'm going for Regenesis here, and then gain access to the Lord or the Sage. Now, if you're going with the small engine, going for the Sage, spell summon the Sage, that will be your Omni Negate already. If you are going pure, I think the best choice here is to going for the Lord, add to hand. And then with this, you can use the effect of the Lord, sacrifice the Archfiend, summon it to the field. And then upon summon, you can gain access to the spell and trap card. The spell or trap card. So you can go with the other trap card for the Regenesis, or you can go for the Birth, or you can go with a copy of Code, or the Cycle, the other spell card that you can use, or you can go with another copy of Regenesis card for a follow-up next turn, either way. But for this combo, just go with a copy of Birth here, because flipping cards face down is what you want to see. Now that is, like I said, it is pretty linear, it is very simple. That is the best thing that you can actually do with this deck, especially if you're going to add this one as an engine. Going on a pure version, you can have a lot of back rows as well if you like that kind of gameplay. So this is the best combo that you can actually do with even with the pure, or even as an engine. So yeah, tell me your thoughts on the new Regenesis. We'll be moving with another like showcase and guide later on. Hopefully we can do Gem Knights, Magistus, and so we call it the new Ignister / Malice cards on the next video. Anyways, that's it for today. Keep safe, good luck. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.